me, the path to grabbing on to that intuition, that knowing without thinking, that being of that single mind, is the synthesis of logic and emotion. You can't.
We grew up in the hood like most black folks. Little did they know it comes gorillas from the south coast, breaking the booze out, leaving them broken in many pieces. Black rain for not five, explosion posse going to siege with this revolutionary tactic. Them flips up out of my mattress. I practice pro-blackness, not to say I'm prejudice, what's in the darkness. No, I'm not suicidal, but I'm dying for my people. No, I'm not authentic, I distinguish good from evil. I use the world on grounds, align my mind to burn from ignorance. I cut away my perm, I got strong, some can't deal with this mentality. Thinking I'm weak, I'm not no gangster. It won't be televised how many times my posse pull the trigger. Lord, oh Lord, am I the devil too, or am I really the son? To the throne, son, the flock is true image of you, a portrait that I could not never see. Dumb as I may be, I never go, I kamikaze G, genocide.
You can't do it. You can't access the intuition without the emotions being in a good place. You can't access them properly. It's just like measuring a board with a tape measure. If you don't know what you're doing with the tape measure, you're gonna measure it for 5 inches when it was supposed to be 15, or 1 in 15, 1 in 2/8 or whatever it is, because you're not able to interpret what it is you're seeing. If you're not emotionally well, when those when those intuitions come, you're not able to process them and use them and make that emotional decision, a decision based on your emotion, which the emotion, just like logic, is a way of accessing. It's not the be all and end all. It's a way of accessing something else. Both of them, emotion and logic, are a way, or a means. It's like the key maker. They're not a mean and ends to themselves. They're keys to get to something else. You can look at something, you can look at music mathematically and appreciate the fuck out of it. You can listen to it and not know how to add 2 + 2 and still appreciate it, because you're accessing the same thing 2 different ways. So that's why I say emotion and logic are on the opposite spectrum, because they're both just ways of accessing something of a higher realm, which is what we started, this whole conversation started out as, is accessing something beyond. You can't, you say I get emotional because of the emotion things, because emotions are emotional. Logic, I'm gonna get real logic about it, real logic. I can't get emotional about logic, because logic is logic, it's just logic. It's like Stephen Hawking. He was passionate about physics. I never hear him get hyped, even when he could talk. He wasn't getting hyped. But I knew he was passionate about it, because he would run down the logic of it and boom, 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 boom. I understood that's a logical interpretation of that passion, that inability, or having not tapped into the emotional aspect. And let's be honest about it. The architect and the oracle, both of them were trying to access something greater. Both of them needed one another. And if we lean on logic more so than we do the emotional aspect of it, then we're essentially leaning on Western European thought and less on the African aspect of it. Because
and that's one thing I disagree with.
Because Africans, just like Khalid said, we are a people of information and inspiration. So we have to have both. Inspiration comes from the emotion. You can't reason being happy. You can't be logical about being angry. Angry don't get it. And angry ain't bad. I can't say that angry isn't negative, and how you deal with it can be negative, can be bad, can be whatever you want to call it. But let's face it, like that dude in American God said, angry gets shit done. When it's time, it's a time and place to be angry. So it's a positive emotion in that time. I don't really see any emotion as being negative. All of them are supposed to be here because they're part of our makeup. How we deal with them, yeah, it can be fucked up. And
let's see now, let me say this, and then I'm gonna have to get off this thing. Now, you say before we took over the conversation, we supposed to. And what you're supposed to do is, if you disagree, you're supposed to come in with that argument. Then we can't do your job. I'm not fit to argue. Hold on. I'm not fit to argue your point for you. You got to argue your point. Now, some of those things I agree with, and they worth thinking about. One thing about me, I'm willing to meditate on something that could possibly make some of those things I disagree 100% with. Like I still disagree that music could exist without the math. I don't think nothing exists without the math. The math is the foundation of everything in existence, even if we don't see it. Being able to see the math is like when Neo in the Matrix stopped seeing the images and they actually start seeing the code. The code is there. It's what produces the images.
Your ability to
which came
do
first?
math is different. Your ability
the math came first. The code produced the matrix. Neo saw the images first, just like you heard the music first. But once Neo got to a high stage of development, he gained the ability to see the code. And the code is what gave him the ability to manipulate the reality of the matrix. Why he gained the ability to fly and to stop bullets in time, because his ability to see the code and actually become one with that. That's what moved him to becoming the one.
What moved him to becoming the one was when matter of fact, he was on top of that building and he started wrapping that helicopter cord around his arm, and Trinity said, what's he doing? And what
he started believing himself.
Starting to believe, not reason, not rationalize. He's starting to believe. Yes. Belief is not a process, is not a result of logic. He was buying into it with something beyond the logic.
Yeah. So what you saying? He getting emotional about it?
Morpheus, yeah. Because
he's starting to believe, because he's starting to have faith. Faith is something else. Faith is something else. Faith.
He saw a chopper going down with a woman he didn't realize consciously that he was falling in love with, but he moved without reasoning it out. He started wrapping it up. He didn't know he was the one. He didn't figure that shit out until after the fact. But he started rapping, fuck that, I gotta save her. He believed. He was emotional about it. And because he was emotional, it took him to the next level. He said, whoa, maybe I am, what the fuck? The oracles told you exactly what you needed to hear.
He started having faith. And see, faith is an active force.
Faith is not logical.
An active force, is power. But see, you using other things to argue against my logic when your argument is supposed to be emotion. We got to get off this phone, off this call.
Go. I know you got the book Meta. Go look
I have it.
Go back.
I disagree with some things. He said he's powerful and he going off, but he gets some things wrong. Like he ascribes some things to the right brain. No, that's a Yana Van Zant did that in her book. But sometimes they mess up. I think he got some things wrong, because what the problem is, I think he's too dedicated to placing logic as a Western thing. And when a person does that, they can't see it. They can't see the whole thing. He's in the meta. I got it right here. I got it somewhere. There it is. I got it over there. Yeah, I done ate it.
I got mine with me.
I ate this thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You understand? I done ate this thing. Yeah, I done ate this thing. I got this thing marked up, rolled up, and everything else. You know, so I liked it. I gained a lot of information from it. But the problem, what we make a mistake is, once we start categorizing things, we have made logic the property of Western thinking.
I think what I need to do at some point is
and logic is not the property of Western thinking.
On a mushroom trip. Western thinkers would take something and they would cut it up, kind of like what he talked about with the brother Malik Ishmael. When he talked to brother Ishmael, the fact is, us and the Panthers was ideological errors of Malcolm X. The problem was one group took one section of Malcolm thinking and went that way and said, that's it. The other group took another section of Malcolm thinking and ran that away. The militancy, the gun clubs, the things like this that Malcolm talked about, they went this way with it. The Afrocentricity and the Pan-Africanism and things like that, us went that way with it. And they had conflict with each other. You fools, you just divided the complete thought process into halves and ran the opposite direction and fighting each other about it. That's insane.
Yeah.
That part I agree.
That's what Europeans do.
Yeah.
So we can't ascribe logical thinking to them. They just took that part and took out with it.
That